jack up the prices in the winter.
February, March,
They visited during the summer.
yeah, the February, March bills are gonna be tough.
But right now, this is a tough time. January through March, the weather is terrible.
That's a good point.
I mean, why charge people now when they struggling in the cold weather?
Mr. Morgan, do you wanna make a motion to table for further study?
I would like to make that motion.
Hold on one second before we do that. So the letter he sent was a one-time $50,000.
One time 50,000.
So
It was
is that
on
what y'all
November
are asking the county to do, or you're asking to put it in their budget every year to provide
We
50?
just talked about one time.
Philip and I, or maybe Mr. Miller, would go up there during their budget public hearing and make that request formal, remind them of that request.
Every year?
We'd have to see how much money, we gotta find out, A, if they can do it, and B, how much money they got.
And
Yeah,
what
we know that, we agree on
what
that.
she was saying is, it would only take her maybe 15 minutes to find out, but they don't have nobody up there to do the research.
So what is the county obligation towards the town? If we paying the
nothing.
taxes, we paying both taxes, and I pay pretty good taxes too. So what are their obligation to help?
Hold on.
Look,
Here's the answer to that question, and this is a harsh truth. You know what the county's obligation is? When we send them a tax bill, whether we live in Crew, a Hungry Town Road, whatever, public education, landfill, and after that, they have the compensation, the constitutional officers, public safety, but a lot of that's formula.
Which all that's not 100%. A lot of the landfill charges, we pay our own here in Blackstone.
Right.
But there's no legal obligation, but most counties some counties are very progressive as far as what they do for their towns. Yeah, it's
That's
just,
why we've talked about a rec department before. It's a county function. You pay for it here in the town. So
Right.
it's a county function that needs to be done, I believe.
So I mean,
I can tell you this, if you're waiting on the county to do something, it's gonna be a long time.
but I mean, I can't really say that because when you all said that same thing to me about that sidewalk, and I called and I had that meeting one-on-one with one of the, Mr. Vaughn.
yep.
And I told him what was going on and why this was important. He said he would handle it.
Right.
And he did.
But let me tell you what motivated that. First, let me tell you why that worked. You know why that worked? Two reasons. Blackstone was paying, 80% of the project was in the town of Blackstone, and VDOT was paying 50%. That enticed Nottaway, and even then, I will tell you right now, I told Philip and told Richard Keller when he was sitting here, this thing is gonna die because the county's gonna reject it. And I'll give you props, because if the county had rejected their part, the town would have never done it. The end result was a half-mile long sidewalk, $400,000, I believe, the town's cost, or somewhere around there, and you got that done.
But you got Miss Shackleton and you got Mr. Vaughn, right? They live right close
I'll be
here.
having
And
breakfast
you can
soon
reach out to them
with Ms. Shepherd.
and talk to them. Because you're gonna need both of them to work together anyway to get the other two people.
Hey, guys, just so you know, that wouldn't work. But the reason it was negative is because we were told, I was told specifically, it's a dead dog, it'll never happen. Now, whatever happened as far as you talking to Mr. Sherman, Vaughn, they got it done, but I was told when the project's over, they'll never ask again, because they'll never do it again, okay? But we have projects in front of the county now. 3 years later, we haven't got an answer.
I mean, you got John Walker up there that be talking how a lot of stuff. He's for the people. Hey, let's put him in the task.
Let's not forget something. Let's while we're all tooting horns and everything, someone went up to the podium back in April and asked for $200,000 for a ladder truck, and he said yes. And I thought that was DOA.
So you never know till you
never
go
know
up
unless
there,
you
and
ask.
You got to put them on the
Have we
spot.
received it?
Haven't seen it yet.
No, we haven't.
Again,
But I do have one more thing. But I got I can't bring that up because I would prefer to talk to Ms. Williams because I'm in her ward first.
Okay.
And then I bring
Good
it up
to see you
next
back
meeting.
here. And think about you and your family.
Thank you.
Mr. Morgan, I think was going to make a motion to table indefinitely or study, earmark for further study.
Correct.
All right, is there a second to that motion?
How long we gonna debate this?
Philip said 90 days is a table.
Well, no, on a matter like this, you can just indefinitely.
Well, I think the point that Mr. Hawks made is good. Let's do it when the light bills are lowest. And that would be, if you're gonna reconsider it, that's usually like
April 1st.
Well, I think
the April usage and the May bill. That's usually the lowest. if you're
All
gonna-
right, will you amend that motion to May 1st, Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
We will take it up at the May council meeting. And is there a second? Ms. Jones, a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so just so Brittany straight and everybody, it's staying the way it is right now, with the 1250.
Correct.
which
All
ends
right.
up being $1,875 a month.
How much is it a month?
$1,875 a month.
Okay.
Times 12, $22,500.
Figured you could have done that off the top of your head.
Phew. All right, moving right along, that concludes the public hearing, and we'll get on, Mr. Listerman has been taken care of, we have the payment of bills. Members of council, we need, the first batch totals $683,827.74. These are checks not yet approved, I need a motion.
So move.
Is there a second? Ms. Jones is second, Mr. Morgan's motion, discussion.
The Walmart Capital One card, is there any way we can itemize a little bit better? I mean, like.
I think she's probably taking the first two things.
And
Yeah.
dog food
Right,
for
I got it.
$968.
If you would like an itemized invoice, we can certainly get you
I
one.
think
What does
not
that
even for
dog eat?
us, but just for if someone actually examined the bills, we know that that's just the general credit card. But it would be nice for the general public to know.
Fair enough. Fair,
What's in
fair
So
assessment.
maybe like when the invoice comes in, like when we do the attorney bills.
Informational.
Attach it
We
to
can
it.
do
I
it.
think that's
Yeah.
beautiful, I think that's
Perfect.
perfect.
Good idea.
Any further discussion on these bills? They exceed $10,000, therefore a roll call vote is needed. I believe it's Mr. Miller's turn this time, isn't it?
Oh, mercy, I don't even know.
Well, we'll start with Mr.
think
A
it
for
is.
Miller, Ward A for
I
Miller.
believe so.
Aye.
Aye.
Those bills are approved 7-0, and the next batch, broken down by department, they total $231,631.56. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Morgan has seconded Mr. Nash's motion. Discussion? They're broken down by department. They are your bills. Members of the public, I hear none. No further questions, so I'll have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries 7-0. We have appropriations.
I'll run through these very quickly. Jennifer was not able to be with us this evening, and if any of these fall afoul, we'll bring them back to you on the 24th. Appropriation number 1 is in the water and sewer plant, in the amount of $5,420. Appropriation is to distribute CARE funding for 3 new computers for the water plant, wastewater plant, and supervisor. These were purchased and approved, and this is the CARES funds, not ARPA money. This is CARES money that was handled through the county, if you remember, and needed to be spent by the end of December. Appropriation number 2, electric department, $14,357. Appropriation is for recovered costs for various electrical upgrade projects which have been billed to property owners. We took Brittany's bills that she has sent out when we do underground electric, or if it's a commercial customer that we bill them for the construction. These are the material costs that Dan has for that work, and we need to add that back to his budget. But in the meantime, Brittany has billed these property owners, so we'll receive that money back, okay? That'll be paid back. The appropriation number 3, administration. Appropriation is to distribute CARES funding for town hall HVAC replacement. We replaced 2 air conditioners and 2 air handlers in this building. They were pretty old. We got them off the roof and they looked a little dingy. But that was an eligible CARES funding. They weren't broken down. They hadn't stopped working. And I couldn't tell you how old they were, but they were pretty rusty and tough looking. And that again, CARES money will reimburse the full amount. Appropriation number 4, water and sewer. Appropriation is to distribute ARPA funds. That is the second COVID relief funds that we've received. This is part of the $1.75 million that the town has already received. Appropriation to distribute ARPA funds approved at the November council meeting to be used to upgrade new water meters. So that money that we already have will actually be accounted for by appropriation, so we'll increase the water and sewer department by that.
How many
amount.
water meters roughly? Is that town-wide?
No, that doesn't do town-wide. No.
How many is that?
There's probably 2,000 totally in the town.
Good chunk.
2,000?
That does not do 2,000.
Oh.
That does the software, if I'm not mistaken, and it does the maybe 300 meters.
How do you decide where to start?
We're starting on East End.
Okay.
Because the East End project, I know it's not another award, I know you may get tired of hearing about it, but when we did the East End project, we specified that these new remote read meters would be included, and so when the contractors are going through, they're gonna place the new meters in there, and that's where it's starting. I anticipate long-term, as we're getting through this thing, we're gonna do it by book. In the same way we replaced the electric meters some time ago, we did book 1. And if you know anything about the way we read meters, we had the town divided, I think, 8 books. And so we'll do it by book. Once we get one book done, then we'll do it. And
Makes
book two,
sense.
We'll do that. But the meter replacement is gonna start in East End on the homes over there. Appropriation number 5, Schwartz Tavern. Appropriation to reallocate money for the telephone and utility expenses to fund termite treatment needed at Schwartz Tavern. And we had some termite issues. We still have to do some repair work, but there were some termite issues over at
Has
the.
it been inspected annually and everything on an annual basis? And
No, I can't say it has been. Inspected, no.
so we don't have it on annual, I thought we had like whoever gets a
It's a
contract,
termite treat, I mean, it gets, pest control every month.
right? We don't have it on annual termite schedule?
It was, I think it was turned in, didn't you say that they told someone a couple of years ago and they never told us, and it's just been,
Needless to say, we just gotta do some repair
Gotcha.
work, but
It's nothing major?
we did a full, well, we gotta take out some of the plaster on the back wall to see
Wow.
what it is, because there's obviously a gap in there. I'm not altogether sure it's strictly termite damage. When we replaced, and we cut down that tree at the end,
Yeah.
we replaced a lot of the siding, 2 years ago and painted. And when we painted, there's a lot of rotten wood where that big oak tree was that we cut out.
Right.
I think it's as much water damage as it is
Okay.
termite
I think-
damage, but
I
this is
think
for
when
a
it's coming
full
up, I
termite
think we should
treatment.
Go ahead and get it on a.
Yeah, I mean, if that's our
Inspection.
signature landmark in town, it's not very kosher to have it infested with termites.
Is there
And,
no line item for maintenance, building maintenance for Schwartz Tavern?
Probably not enough to cover that. No,
$1,200? Not enough to cover $1,200?
probably not. She's asking for it, so there must not be enough money in the department for it, or in that particular
I
line.
think we need to ensure that that becomes an annual
Yeah.
inspection.
They treat it every month.
They spray.
They spray it every month. They walk through and just like
So
they
maybe
would
it
at your
was
office
water,
or something.
okay, maybe it was water damage.
But
That's just regular insect treatment though, right?
yeah, this was
That's
above
not
and beyond.
termite
This is like get rid of the infestation. Yeah,
All right, I think we need a more termite specific, especially with that,
no problem.
you know, all wood structure.
Billing also,
Sir,
can you include the DEI?
I would think we want to, my goodness, I would think we would want to, yes, sir. I would think that'd be, I mean, it'd be hard, we're gonna talk about tourism, and I can say, congratulations, tourism, here's your two, don't mind the termites, come on, come all. Look at these carriages, ain't they pretty?
They're all eating
The
it.
half of that one is, the other half.
And appropriation number 6 is
But
ball.
can we put that on the, can we do an RFP, or like Mr. Morgan said, and put those two,
well, I bid out the exterminating every year, but maybe we need to include an added section for termite treatment.
Yeah, because they'll take just an extermination for standard bug.
Right, and that's
Because
what it is.
this needs to be termite specific
Okay.
to include inspections on that building every year.
so when I hear extermination, I've always assumed,
Are we
It's
just looking
everything.
at that
Yeah.
building right now?
sir, ma'am,
We'll include it for just Schwartz Tavern?
I would say whoever gets the next contract has got termites everywhere. I mean, then we need spray and look for termites every building we have.
We spray every building, but we may need to do, as Jennifer said, more of an inspection and go back and look at all the buildings every year. And termites are often treated on the outside. So that's a
They
little bit
need to be
more than the
inspected on the
traditional walking
inside.
around spraying on the corners and around the doors.
It needs to be somebody that in their contract, it includes the yearly inspection, just like Dotson or whoever would be.
It will be that way shortly.
Because some of y'all may remember 20 years ago, there was a couple that lived in a very nice home just outside of town. And they, all of a sudden one day, they looked in, I think it was upstairs bedroom, had a termite explosion, and the fire department burned their house down. And they built another one. And that was one that was treated, and it was lawsuit. That was a horror story. We'd hate that to be at Schwartz Tavern.
Got it?
All right, so that's duly noted. Can we have a report on that at the next meeting, or
What report would you like?
just that we are contacting firms about adding termite?
Well, they've already treated, so we're good, and it's warranted for a year or two.
Okay,
So, but
Does that
In
include
June.
termite damage?
it's warranted for what they've just done.
Yeah, that's
But
what
did
we're
they-
doing the money for.
Yeah, they've
Okay.
already done the treatment, so this is paying for the treatment. So in June every year is when I bring you the bids
Right.
to award, and so when I do the advertisement for that, I will include
Termite.
Termite.
So do you need a report?
no, that's fine. What you just said is perfect.
Because this is the treatment, and it's covered, it's warranted for a year.
Outstanding.
Okay.
Very good. You had one more, the ball field?
Ball field sidewalk project. I've talked to some of you guys, and that thing is way over budget. Appropriation is the town's local match needed for the revised Appendix A. The revised amount is 258,000, and we started with a match of 57,000.
When we apply for these grants, again, this goes back to when I asked the question to the auditor last meeting about how much of our budget, all these other ones, yes, that the only other one, there are ARPA funds, that's typical. But when it comes to stuff like this is stuff over and above the budget that we don't have money to replace it. It's coming out of the general fund. I mean, that's a big expense, $200,000. Why can we not, in our contracts with VDOT, have some kind of agreement? I mean, it takes forever to get their contracts. Why can't there be an
Oh,
inflation clause or
we
something?
wrote this grant application, I think, in 2017.
What's causing it to go up $200,000?
Engineering fees, all kinds of stuff.
But it ain't 5 times higher.
We can keep walking on dirt for a while.
We bid it, and it was $408,000 for 2 blocks, if you remember.
The gravel did mix.
Is the
In
bid,
2017, we didn't put in 400.
Would this come from the general fund? This would come from general fund, like you said?
Yeah,
It wouldn't come from VDOT allocation or anything? Or?
it would come from VDOT allocation.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, what would pay this and what is going to pay this or what's paying this is the FEMA money that comes back that I took out of VDOT to get us through the ice storm, $850,000 worth. And once that's paid back,
We say VDOT money a lot, but that also means you're gonna get less potholes filled. You're gonna
True.
get less pavement done.
Yeah, it's
Not gonna cut
When
the
you
grass
take
in the
from
middle.
one, it's gonna go, it
domino
takes from
effect.
another.
Domino effect. That's
So, I just want us to be extremely cautious when it comes to appropriations as to what, I mean, and when could we have known about the $200,000 increase? Could we have known any time prior to the
when you
project
approved the
starting?
bids, I guess, if 2 months ago, month and a half ago.
I mean, that's just,
It's not cool to just pop up out of the blue and say, oh, but we increased that by $200,000.
and that's not your fault. That's just the fact that it's crazy that we go through our process like we should. And then because prices go up and VDOT takes 2 years, 3 years to appropriate the money.
They drug it out.
Is there any way we could go back and get a portion of it through there?
Our contract with them that was approved by council says, here's the amount they'll put in, anything above and beyond is town responsibility.
So is it strictly increase in concrete costs as to what's making it $200,000? Or is there some things we've done?
I can't, I don't know.
Have we added ball field fence to it to increase? I mean, this is
That is
strictly
straight up.
concrete.
That concrete work.
I mean, I'm just saying we need, and this is past us now. We've got to do it, but we need to be. I mean, $200,000, a ton of money,
This is a teachable moment, no
a
doubt.
ton of money.
Teachable
I mean,
moment.
We just need to be extremely cautious about it.
So,
have you got the,
we stop and talk about that before we go into the project.
Well, we awarded the bids.
Approved the bids, I think. is the
We knew, I
time.
mean, the council did approve the bids, and how many people bid? Was it just one, or
One,
It's just one.
was it, who's doing the work? Is it,
Jason,
Walker.
okay, yeah. He's got,
he's
Mr. Bagley.
monopolized a little bit.
If we can go back about 5 years, and this is what Norfolk Board in the big picture that's saying what Wigglesworth was gonna be looking like. It started off being a walking track.
It
Then
did.
All of a sudden it changed over to cement. That's your big cost.
No, that's not true. The walking track was never part of any of these grant agreements, or that was something that was talked about previously.
David
reason we got
Oshand,
the grant was
David
Safeway
Oshand
School.
drew a walking trail. We're gonna have a walking trail over there, but it wasn't, that was a precursor to the grant. But you got a great memory.
The reason we got the grant was because it's safe way to schools is what it was.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
We found a mechanism to get walking trails in the form of sidewalks.
I prefer to call it amazing administration. But you can call it that if you
Yeah,
want.
very innovative. Innovative.
So when it comes out of general fund, well, you have already said where it's coming from. It's coming from VDOT money. So
This is what the mayor of Brookfield used to say. This is one of those sandwiches you just have to make yourself eat. It's not pleasant, but you gotta eat it.
so,
but we can't eat many of these.
so we haven't gotten the bids back for the football stadium yet, have we?
No, I'm gonna ask you tonight to authorize me to seek bids for a football stadium.
What is your pleasure on the appropriations? He has gone through them dutifully. We're not happy about the last one, but it's gotta be ratified.
Let me just point out one thing too. We wouldn't do the sidewalk project if I didn't have the cash already in place, okay?
Agreed.
I'm not gonna get you guys strung out and digging in the reserves and borrowing money to do that kind of stuff. If we did, like the South Main project, okay? That was a $800,000 deal. Remember, it's a $400,000 grant, $400,000 loan. We bid it in 2020, and what was the number it came back at?
Oh, it was over $1 million.
$1.6 million.
Yeah.
It was twice what the other. We turned that one down because I didn't have the difference. We cut quite a bit out of the project. Went and met with contractors, rebid it, and I think it came back at $1 million this time, or $950,000 this time.
Can we get a comparison? We'll vote on it. I'll vote yes for it. But can we get a comparison as to where the money went for the additional $200,000? I'd like to see it broken down as to what actually went up.
Oh, I don't know. I'll get Jason's bid and dissect it if you'd like. And that's where it's
There's
at.
not a lot of folks who do what he does around here. He does great work. There's no one ever, but like you said,
That might be part of the
this is when
problem.
you don't, competition normally leads to better bids.
That's right.
We'll never do a project, I promise you, or buy a truck if you can't afford it. Guaranteed.
I
Yeah.
believe you.
That's just too much of a,
$200,000
like-
increase.
And I can guarantee you it was, I'm almost certain it was not Jason going, oh, I was the only bidder, I can increase it. I promise you it wasn't that.
No.
It was just the fact that material, and I would just like to see what actually went up. So
He didn't know he didn't know he was only bidder when he submitted his bid.
Correct.
You know, that's the whole thing. You know,
I'll tell you the difference in the project. The total project was, I think the grant amount from VDOT is $240,000, okay? We had 57 in it. That was gonna do 3 blocks. If you remember, when we got the bids back, we had to reduce it down to 2 blocks. And that was only $400,000 for 2 blocks. And this right here is the last block on Jackson Street that's already been pulled.
one.
I guess I need to start laying concrete now.
Man, I'm telling you, we just opened bids today to re-asphalt the parking apron at the airport. 320 was the engineer's estimate, 489 was the number we got. And we can't afford to do it, so
But
that
I'll
one
tell
we
you,
ain't
it's gonna
doing.
be a lot of projects that end up being like that, where we're just going to have to say, whoa, we
I'm
want to do
mortified
it.
that the Armory's gonna be one of them.
it could
Well,
be.
that money's there.
So what do you,
Much as
so
we
you
do.
just said this is just for Jackson Street?
That's where that 200,000 is, Jackson Street.
And that's not even
All
the
right,
street that's
look at it.
really
I'll just
used.
move
Members
on.
of council, what is your pleasure on the appropriations? We have certainly,
Beat it to death.
yes, but it's important.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Morgan is second. Mr. Nash's motion. I'll have a roll call vote starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Aye.
And I know that, go ahead, that was 7-0.
7-0.
And I know Jennifer Hardy can do it, but I would like for us to start keeping track. Obviously, we're at the first of the year, so it's perfect timing to do it, of the total amount of overages and appropriations outside of, like the ARPA stuff, all that's completely fine. The money that was used, I saw in there, one appropriation was from where I paid to have electric put into the bargain bin. And so obviously that's money that's being brought in, so you just have to have it moved. But these overages, I would like to see calculated and tallied up.
Well, I'll bring you plenty of them, because they're all over now.
Moving right along, we have new business task order number 1, and this is the aeration at the reservoir, which I believe, I want to say, when you were here the first time, Philip, those are the things that are on the bottom of the reservoir that pump, that shoot out air.
That's
to
exactly
improve your
it.
water quality.
It just ceased working. It may have been causing enough trouble that last year when we had some manganese problem, that could be a part of it, but it's not bubbling now appropriately or properly at all. I'm gonna tell you a number. So hang on to your hat. We're looking about $500,000 to do this.
But these are things, I hate to hear that, but these are vital core functions.
I get it.
The sidewalk's not.
But I'm looking at my package, it says
That's
$15,100.
just for the design, that's
That
just for
task
design
order is just for the
service.
engineers.
That's for the design.
Construction's gonna be pushing $500,000.
He doesn't know yet, but that's roughly what it will be.
Can we pass any of that on to Pickett?
In their bill, and they're in their monthly bills, they're gonna,
Well, we've got the aeration devices in the reservoir now, they're just not working. Why do we have to do a redesign?
Lines are shut.
well, they've gotta, I can't say we gotta redesign it, but what they've gotta do is have the engineers prepare bid specs, prepare bid documents, all that kind of stuff. And the product that's in there, is explained to me, is obsolete. It was put in after I left in '98. and
It was
probably-
98, I remember
It's been a
vividly.
long time.
And you ride down the reservoir, and you look to your right, on the reservoir, and you can see the bubbles. And I was always proud of that, because I'm like, look how clean our water's gonna be.
It's not that they're not just silted over, that they actually are working, and that maybe they just need to be
Well,
relocated to the surface.
No, I haven't gone down there and pulled them. I don't know the answer. I just know they're not operating now. And in order to repair or replace them, I think what they're running into is these are 20 years old and there's not parts and pieces and things available.
All right, need a motion by council to approve the B&B Consultants for Design Services, the amount of $15,100.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded, it exceeds $10,000. I'll have a roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller. The motion carries 7-0. Next, we have a task order for stormwater improvements in the East End. This is $30,000, and Mr. Benobeck is requesting authorization to execute the task order. This is with B&B Consultants again.
This is reimbursed by DHCD. This is great money paying this one. Hang on. And, but if you recall in that grant application for East End, it's about $500,000 for storm. And we call it storm improvements, but it's curb and gutter and it's drop inlets and culvert pipe. And this would be reimbursed to the town, by the DHCD.
Who wants to make the motion? Mr. Miller, you want to make the motion, don't you?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to Mr. Miller's motion?
Second.
Ms. Scott seconds the motion. Have another roll call vote, starting with Mr. Miller.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. And last but not least, we have a request by the town manager to seek sealed bids for grading a field and concession stand for the Gators to play their games here in Blackstone.
So I will give away all the secrets. Our budget is $158,000. The reason we have $158,000 is because that's the interest off our CD that we drew last year.
Wow.
Okay, $158,000 that could be put to this. The concession stand that we built previously for the baseball program was over $90,000. Okay, so I'm telling you, it's going to be more. Okay, there is grading and some other things that need to be done out there. The grading and any of the culvert work that needs to be done with the project, we're going to handle as a change order because we already have unit prices from Jason. Okay, so all that we really need to bid now is the actual concession stand, press a box building.
And this will be done in time so the Gators, when they start practicing in early August or late July, they
We
can.
get going. I mean,
All right.
that'd be
Do
great.
you need a motion or just common consent?
No, I'd like a motion to authorize me to go out and
Seek
seek
bids.
bids.
Hold on, let Mr. Nash ask.
What sort of concession stand are we debating? I remember us talking about, it was a single story with a platform on the top or something.
No, it's comparable to what's over there now. If you go to Kinston, you got a concession stand on the bottom, and then there's an enclosed upstairs. It's a frame. It's masonry on the first floor and frame on the second floor, and it's exactly like the baseball program. we
But
got.
the baseball, the reason the baseball was so big is because it was like it was at the base of 4 fields. With one football field, would you need that bigger concession stand?
It's smaller. No, it's smaller.
You're
It's
just looking at one
size-wise, it's
field. You just
smaller.
want to be looking at that
This
50
has
yard. You
fewer
want 50.
windows, all those kinds of things. But I'm just telling you, I don't know what the number's going to come out to be.
Would it be like at the 50-yard line so you have a public addresser and they can call the action and all that?
Kinston ball game, or I
Right.
assume Nottaway somewhat the same.
Just like that.
There's a concession stand where kids can get snow cones and do whatever, and then the second floor, the announcements.
Who would like to second Mr. Miller's motion for him to seek bids?
Second.
Mr. Morgan is second. Any further discussion?
I don't want to bring up bad conversation, but if I remember correctly, I thought the town was to pay for all the field, the fence.
I think that was what our initial understanding was, but I think that has morphed into the town doing that. I think there was some discussion at one time. I think Jennifer even came to me not long ago and said, "Oh, by the way, I think that the Gators had said that they would build a concession stand."
Is that just no longer? I don't see how.
I don't think that's the case. At
I don't see how the Gators
$150,000.
survive every year. What they have to pay for uniforms and stuff and liability insurance. I don't.
I would like to see them broken separate, and I think the grading ought to not be a change order. I think it ought to be bidded out.
That's a crazy mistake. That little bit of pipe, well, Jason's already got unit price in, that amount of pipe, Jason's gonna get the job anyhow, most likely. But that's a tremendous mistake if you're gonna bid out separate.
Pipe are we putting in?
Putting in 2 drains, one at either end of the field so that the water can run into the daggone things. My initial goal was, don't do anything other than just a little work around the field. But B&B has come back and said it's gonna be wet if you don't get that water out of there.
I feel it drains right.
Yeah, if you bid it out separate, it's gonna be a whole lot more, I can tell you that.
Well, no, when I say
Because
separate,
of the small
I
volume.
mean grading and concession stand need to be separated.
Yeah.
They don't need to be the same number.
2 different contractors.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, do you want to make that motion? Does your motion be
No,
amended to?
I think the general sense is the same.
Okay.
Is the concession stand going to be on the 50-yard line?
Mhm.
Because I thought we originally said that the field would still be able to be used.
You can.
You got a stand right there.
No, it's gonna be far enough set
Far
back,
enough from it, it's gonna
Yeah,
be
yeah.
far enough from it.
because the field is gonna go over into that little softball field, or adult baseball field, and that's gonna become a T-ball field. We've laid it out 2 or 3 times, but there'll be room for it.
Cause that field is never used.
Pardon?
Right.
That field is never used.
But
The
we
adult
said
field
that
is
it
never,
would still
yeah.
be able to be used
Right.
if needed. So
Yeah.
we wanted there to be a structure in the middle of the field.
So would that field be able to be used for to play soccer on? Because the Mexicans don't have nowhere hardly to play soccer around here. We got a lot of them out here.
Other people play soccer other than Mexicans.
Right up there by my house, up there, that field, they paying, but they got 25 yards in that old baseball field. And about 40 Mexicans out there playing because they don't have nowhere to play at.
I would think certainly it's a town facility. We could certainly, of course, just like baseball and softball, where you have to go through the rec. I mean, when the Gators off season, if it's good Bermuda grass, it can handle it. The additional traffic,
But
but
we'll get Greg to,
So why is we
Fatten it up.
building on fields and stuff if the public really can't use it, then y'all using our taxpayer money then?
I don't know the answer.
well, I think
I should not have to really ask for nothing. I mean, if you use my taxpayer money, that field should be open to us. That basketball court is open to us.
that's
Hang on, so everybody knows, you included. So everybody has facts, you included. The town has a general layout of that property out there, okay? We're limited on cash. Obviously, we're crazy over budget. We're trying to do things one at a time because the county doesn't help us for recreation, okay? The county school system has helped us. They've given us the rights. The $200,000 for the fire truck is a hell of a good start, okay? If you look at the layout of the property out there, we're trying to finish this one phase. The next thing would be addressing the 1-story school building, okay, and dealing with that. The next phase, and if you look at the layout of the property, it's supposed to be a soccer field on Oak Street. That's correct. Okay?
Right.
So we've got it planned. It's wet down there. Have you ever seen how wet it is? It's gonna have to have a lot of drainage work done on that property or grading work, because right now, if you look, the water's actually running over the sidewalk. So that's just not 2 goals and a ball.
I understand.
It's a lot to
I
do.
understand what you're saying, Phil.
But there is a full-blown plan
Master
for
plan.
Riverwood.
But you know how we do plans down here in the town of Blackstone, our plans be 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road. That field is being built now. So why?
just going in circles.
yeah. Well,
Let's go.
yeah.
I mean, that's something we got to go back and take, 'cause I see up there wanting to rush it market, but this is something that is important to the taxpayers and everybody. We pay money and we should be able to use these fields
Right.
without even hesitation. The field should be open.
They rent the fields, don't they? They rent the field.
Yeah, the baseball and softball fields, travel ball teams have come and rented them and use them for travel ball tournaments.
They rent them when they rent, I'm not gonna rent, I'm not paying taxes.
All right. All right. Any other business coming before the council tonight? Because we're going to meet again in, I guess,
Well,
12 days. Yes. Tom.
I was at a forum recently and a comment got brought up about the fire department. I had no knowledge of it. I don't know if any of y'all have any knowledge of this, but I was surprised and everybody else in the room was surprised. And that is, if the fire department comes to your house and puts out a fire, you gotta pay for it.
Not true.
That's not true.
Well, it's not you, but you do pay for it because the insurance company deducts it from what they
Well,
give you.
That is being put in effect because of the cost on equipment and resources, and it's no different than any other jurisdictions doing. Your insurance company may get charged, but that's for equipment being used.
In
This is
all the
not-
places I've lived my entire life, I've never heard of that, ever.
It's probably gonna change for you when you move.
Council approved that about, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago, where the fire department asked that it could.
That's why I pay taxes, isn't it? Come on.
It's probably $12,000 a year.
How much?
$12,000 a year that we actually recoup, and that goes into fire trucks and fire equipment. We don't use it for.
If your
anything else
homeowner's
than
insurance
fire equipment.
has a fire suppression, you know, if it doesn't, you don't pay out of pocket. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
No one's paying.
No
No,
one is obligated to pay out of pocket.
no one's. It's like the ambulance. It's like the ambulance when they pick you up. If you have the health insurance, that'll.
They send it to the insurance, you got insurance, the insurance pays it, that's one thing. If insurance chooses not to pay it, they don't pursue, and they never pursue the individual.
Compassionate billing is what they call it.
I hear, I'm just saying that, I was not aware of that, I was surprised to hear it, and so was.
It may have been before your time when we
I
started.
think Tom is saying, does it reduce, which I don't know, I think, if I remember correctly, it's been 5 years is a long time ago to me. But if your policy has it, that money, if I remember correctly, wouldn't go to the homeowner anyway. I think he's saying he doesn't want,
What I'm saying
if
is,
Tom's
that
house
what I was
burns up.
told was, the insurance company, I put in my claim for my, let's say it's $20,000. The insurance company comes back and gave me $15,000. I said, where's the rest? They said, oh, we had to give $5,000 to the fire department.
I think it's two different line items.
That's what happened.
That
That
did
is what happened.
That may be the case. I
Now,
don't
it
know
might
how
have been
insurance companies do it.
$5,000, but that is what happened.
in this community.
Yes.
Can you check with Dion, Jennifer?
Can we, yeah, when the fire chief comes up,
Just
let's
out of
have facts. I mean, and I'm not saying you not, but you're presenting our facts, let's just
That may be
confirm
the
those
case
facts.
With the insurance company internally doing that kind of stuff, but, I'm glad.
Let's confirm those
I mean,
facts.
that was surprising to me.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
I hear what you're saying, Lonnie, and I get that, but I've
I mean,
never
I
experienced
would've
it.
never thought about it before I got on the fire department, but you would not believe how much goes, if we're in a structure fire, the cost, equipment, and foam is, you don't believe how much foam is to put in that fire truck.
But it's gonna also happen in the county, but if Blackstone fire truck goes 5 miles out of town to fight a fire, it's the same predicament. It's not just our people.
An elderly person told me several years ago they had a false alarm. So, you know, it wasn't because of what she did, it's because of the company that has the protection. And then, next day someone shows up with some papers representing the town of Blackstone saying that they wanted some money out of it.
I'll tell you one thing, that,
That's not right.
Call the cops on that,
That's not right.
call the cops.
yeah.
Cause it ain't the town.
Wanted the information about the insurance companies and all that kind of stuff.
That's a fraud, that's a scheme. Yeah,
Criminal act.
yeah.
Nobody from the fire department can be coming to your house for insurance information.
Or for the town.
But you have to make sure that the public knows that.
Yeah, we're gonna ask Chief Tomer to just briefly address that when he comes up at the next council meeting. No other business, folks. I wanna thank everybody. Listen, we had a good meeting, good discussion tonight. This, special meeting's adjourned, 8:40.
I'm about to buy
4
more
p.m.
chairs.
Thank you all, thank you Sergeant May.
These are not made